The CT scan was still spinning, and the same lady standing beside me. We need to go to theatre, and we need to go right now. And I said, am I in trouble? She said, yes. I said, how bad? The worst kind. The numbers are frightening worldwide. There's too many of us to hide us now. What's going to come out over the next 2 years? A lot of people are going to be in a very bad place because most people don't think a government and a health industry would do any of these things. Well, at the crux of humanity, large sections of our societies are in trouble, and we need to come together to try and resolve it.
Welcome to the Staying Free podcast. So unfortunately, this is not an episode. This is just a message that I'm recording for my YouTube audience because, and this was kind of inevitable, but I finally had my first strike from YouTube, my first community guidelines strike. And that is for the episode that you've just heard the censored version of the trailer for with Alex Mitchell. For those of you who don't know who Alex Mitchell is, it's going to be difficult for me to even explain to you actually who Alex is. Because in explaining who Alex is, I could potentially be getting another strike from YouTube. I'll give a link to Alex's information in the description. I think that will still be allowed. But unfortunately, I'm not able to upload the episode at all here. The whole episode got pulled down. So after receiving my warning and having the content pulled down, I did contact YouTube to raise a dispute about this, essentially arguing that this is not medical misinformation. This is essentially a personal account, and it's fact. It's factually confirmed. So I'll read you my response to YouTube. This is a personal account of a man who was medically diagnosed with, and then I've got the name of the condition that he was diagnosed with here, which I probably can't share because this might get me another strike. This has been confirmed in writing by the haematology team at Haymyers University Hospital, and the UK government has accepted this conclusion and paid out compensation. There are no claims in this video that, and then I'll have to just insert a blank here, in general are harmful. This is purely a personal account of one individual and his efforts to raise awareness for other blank injured individuals. I'm very cautious to only include on YouTube discussion in accordance with the community guidelines and cannot see how this factual personal account qualifies as misinformation in any way. I implore you to reconsider this decision. And YouTube did get back to me on that and said, we've reviewed your content carefully and have confirmed that it violates our medical misinformation policy. We know that this is probably disappointing news, but it's our job to make sure that YouTube is a safe place for all. So as you guys know who have been listening on YouTube, I always put censorship warnings whenever there is something which I deem is likely to get me a strike on YouTube. But with this episode, to be honest, if I had have tried to censor it, I would have just been censoring the entire episode. I mean, the whole conversation was about a topic which we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. So I kind of saw this coming, to be honest. I wasn't entirely surprised, but I just wanted to make this video just to say to you, look, if you want to continue listening to this podcast, you're going to have to go and listen on a censorship-free platform. I've been doing these censorship warnings, but to be honest, it's a lot of work doing it. I don't have a huge following on YouTube anyway, and it's very irritating trying to keep up with this. And eventually, the channel is going to get taken down. I'm convinced of that. And also, I don't want to censor myself. It's kind of against my beliefs and my philosophy to be doing that. As far as I'm concerned, if YouTube wants to censor people, I want the audience from YouTube. I want people to listen and I want people to follow me, and YouTube is quite good at getting an audience, but I'm not going to be censored. So, if they're going to do this, I'm just going to put my content on other platforms. So I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to go forward with this in terms of how I manage the YouTube channel, but I really don't have the time or the desire to actually continue to censor on YouTube and spend all that time keeping YouTube going, because honestly, the censorship's only going to get worse. Right now it's just this particular topic that I've got a strike on, but I'm sure there's going to be other things in the future that I'm not allowed to talk about. So this is just my message to say, please go and follow me on a censorship-free platform. I will probably still post content here in the future, but I might just put a trailer up or potentially just, a small snippet of a conversation. I'm not sure that I'm going to put any full conversations unless I'm absolutely sure that there's going to be no strike. But to be honest, I just can never have that kind of certainty anyway. So please go and follow me on Odyssey. Please go and follow me on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. So yeah, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? That the podcast can be on Google Podcasts, but it can't be on YouTube, even though they're YouTube is owned by Google. But just briefly on that one, the way that podcasting works is it is much more censorship resistant than actually hosting your content on these channels, because essentially the podcast applications that you use, the platforms, they're not hosting your content, so they aren't under such an obligation to actually police it. And second of all, I think because your content is getting pushed from a podcast host to all these different platforms, none of the platforms actually want to be the one to censor you. Nobody's going to use Google Podcasts if they're the only one that's censoring content, whereas Spotify and all of the others is getting pushed there just fine. So there's less of a risk there of getting censored. So for now, I'm not censoring at all on the podcast channels, and there's no censorship on Odyssey either. I do have Rumble, but at the moment it's just mirroring YouTube. So I'll probably change that at some point and maybe set up there as well. But for now, Odyssey and the podcast channels, go check them out. Have a look at the links. As always, thanks for listening. I do appreciate my YouTube audience, and I'm trying my best to get my content out to you guys. But unfortunately, it's not going to last forever. And I think that the writing's on the wall, to be honest. So I'd really appreciate if you followed the links to the censorship-free platforms in the description and go and listen to the podcast over there. All right, cheers, guys.